I'm so excited, you guys. I had the opportunity to sit down with one of my favorite people and talk about one of my favorite devices and ask some questions, and I'm going to share that with you today. So we're going to be talking about the ZIIP device. You guys have heard me talk about this. It is a device that I use almost every single day of the week, and I like to use it for lymphatic drainage. Now, in this video, I wanted to go through what the device is just briefly because you've heard me talk about it. And then I want to share some of my interview with Melanie Simon, who is the creator and just the genius behind this device. So if you're wondering what this device is, if this is the first time you've actually laid eyes on this little guy, it is actually a nano and microcurrent device. I love it because it's ergonomic, it's easy to use, and you basically have these two different probes, essentially, that current travels between, whether it is nano or it is microcurrent. You can use this to either infuse nanocurrent into the skin, which kind of is this long-term feeding the skin, this current that is a lot like the current in your body, helps to give you just really revitalized skin and kind of that microcurrent glow. If you use microcurrent, you know what I'm talking about. And nanocurrent is just super, super gentle, perfect for even if you have very, very sensitive skin, and is a really, really great skin treat. Then, of course, this also has microcurrent. Now, microcurrent we've talked about on this channel forever, and it's good for lifting and toning and sculpting. And then it's also good for encouraging something called ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. So the way that I use this is I use it almost every morning for lymphatic drainage. Now, the reason why I think that this is so fantastic for that is, first of all, because it's ergonomic. Second of all, because the treatment is pretty fast. I get it done within probably 6 minutes. And thirdly, because if you're not aware, our lymphatic system is basically our waste system. And unlike other systems in our body, it doesn't have an automated pump system. We can manually help to move toxins and lymph and waste and fluid away from our face, for example, and kind of depuff, detox, etc. I find this little tool to be magnificent at that. I love it. It's very, very pleasant to use. It's very easy. The conductive gels are packed with amazing ingredients, and it just does a good job. I love it. It's perfect for that. Now, the other thing that's really great about this is the app that Melanie designed is fantastic. It's the best app that I have come across, and in fact, it may be the first actual at-home device that came connected to an app. Now, the other cool thing about this is you don't have to keep it connected to the app. You can freestyle with this. So while it has this really amazing app that I even will hook up and use still, because there's so many fantastic programs that I love to follow along, it is actually Melanie doing the treatments, and you really feel like you're sitting there with this world-class esthetician doing a facial. It's really wonderful. Now, there are many programs, and so you can go through and you can kind of customize the facial that you want to do. You can look and see what it is you're trying to do or trying to target, and you can cocktail up a couple different programs, or if you're low on time, you can do one short program. It's just really user-friendly. Now, the app is of course free. You just load it. You can get it on Android, you can get it on Apple, and then you sync your device. It is so easy to do. You literally turn it on. As long as your Bluetooth is turned on your phone, it'll sync up, and then you literally go down like a spa menu, choose the service that you want to do, and you sync the two, and you will go ahead and do a treatment. Some other things that I do love about this is that it has a light that comes on when you have conductivity. I love that. I love an indicator that tells you that something's happening, because a lot of times with microcurrent, you are not feeling much of anything. When you're using microcurrent and you get it up into maybe the 300 microamps, maybe 350, sometimes you might feel a little bit of a flutter with microcurrent, but most of the time you're not feeling much. And so having a light that actually shows you that there's conductivity is beneficial. It's reassuring. It lets you know that something is actually going on. And you can tell because when you pull it away from your skin, or if you hit a part of your skin where you don't have conductivity gel, the light will go off. So it definitely is a great indicator, and I think one of the big benefits of this little device. So you charge it simply with USB, and the charge can be held for like 3 or 4 weeks, and that is with using it consistently. So I'm super excited to share this with you guys, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you were attracted to microcurrent, and how it became kind of like your life's passion.
I call myself an electrical esthetician, and I really went down the funnel super fast. I always have been the type that if I'm going to do something, I want to get the most bang for my buck. I want to do what's going to make the most difference in the shortest amount of time. And as soon as I got exposed to microcurrent, after everything else I'd looked at, it was immediately such a difference in comparison to other things as an esthetician that I'd seen when I was starting out my career. So then I dove down that wormhole and it just went crazy from there, because it's such a huge world, electrical waveforms and currents, and there's so much that can be done. And it's a little bit like magic. So it's really cool. And I was just taken with it. And I don't know how to explain it. It was honestly fate.
So you started, how many years ago did you start? And obviously working on clients, and you built your clientele based on microcurrent.
Yes, it's been almost 18 years now that I've solely been totally immersed in electrical current. So your treatment is going to be, if it's a 2-hour treatment or if it's an hour treatment, whatever, the 90% of it is electricity.
I find it interesting to describe to somebody at home what microcurrent is all about. If somebody didn't know anything about microcurrent, how would you explain it to them? What would you tell them it's all about?
I get this a lot when talking to people that aren't into skincare, and they're kind of like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. I always say, everything is electric, like as in we use electricity to light and, make our appliances work. That's a ton of electricity, but we're electric. Everything we can see is electric, every single thing. Now it's finding the right it's finding that right amount to put into the skin that really makes the difference. And when you get into that right sort of sweet spot, you just can start to see amazing things. And what sometimes I like to say to people, do you feel like you've got all the energy that you had 10 years ago? And everyone says no. And I say, well, think about this. Your skin cells are losing energy, and I'm putting that energy back in there and then some. And then imagine what can happen.
It's funny, the longer and longer that I study skin, that is the one thing that across the board, as we age, we're depleting in everything, unfortunately we're losing, vital nutrients, our collagen, our elastin, our energy, and so anytime that we can replenish any of those things, obviously it's going to be beneficial to our largest organ, of course. There were already some microcurrent devices on the market before you came up with ZIIP, before you developed ZIIP. What made you want to develop your own device? What kind of was your inspiration to develop your own device?
First and foremost, I wanted nanocurrent to be out there, available in the world, outside, in conjunction with microcurrent, and it was not. And I also wanted people to have variation, because when you change these waveforms, you see different things as an esthetician consistently. And I wanted them to have access to that, because it's really terrible feeling when people are writing you after reading about your philosophy in an article back when we did that. And then writing in and saying, how do I get this in my town? And it's just this kind of horrible feeling, especially because it works with the skin. It's not tearing the skin down. It's so good for you. It's kind of the most holistic form of skincare there could be.
Right.
And then you can't give it to people. And truly for me, it's always been that I really wanted anyone in the world to be able to get access to this on a consistent level.
So the ZIIP has nano and it has microcurrent. And I think that a lot of people would be interested to know the difference between them and why they should be using them.
Okay, so I get this question a lot. And remember, microcurrent, nanocurrent, that's the strength of your waveform. That's how strong it is. There are other factors in the waveform, which we'll talk about in a minute. Microcurrent is 1/1,000,000th of 1 ampere, one. So think of a tiny light bulb and there's maybe 1 ampere running through it of electricity constantly. And that'll light a light bulb, a tiny light bulb. So 1/1,000,000th of 1 is microcurrent. Nanocurrent is 1/1,000,000th of 1. So it's even that much smaller. And that's why nanocurrent is much more in sync with our human body and the electrical current that is already in it. And that's why when using nanocurrent, a lot of times you don't feel it as much, where microcurrent, you feel more. I like to use microcurrent for the here and now. I want results right now. I want to sculpt right now. I want to lift right now. Microcurrent. Nanocurrent is going to show up tomorrow and the next day and build and build and build. So ideally, you want both. Really. Yeah. You want now and tomorrow.
Right, right. So would you say that the nanocurrent is it's feeding the skin? It's this kind of like a trickle charge that's constantly feeding the skin if you use it. And would you use it more regularly or more often because it is smaller?
Yes. You want to use it consistently, and I weave it into the programs because otherwise people wouldn't use it. The nanofacial on the ZIIP app is all nanocurrent, but I do weave it into the other treatments because a lot of times if you don't feel it, people think it's not working and then they won't do it. So you are getting it. But yes, you do want to keep that consistent maintenance of nanocurrent because it really encourages your skin to do what it's supposed to do. It's almost, I like to say microcurrents, like I'm blasting my music, it's loud, we're rocking out, we're all having fun. And nanocurrents kind of like someone's whispering an idea in your ear, and then tomorrow you go and do it. That's sort of the difference. But the whisper in the ear was like a lot more profound. It made a change in your life. This big difference can happen.
So can we talk about waveforms for a minute? Because I think there's a lot of confusion around that. What is a waveform and how does it affect the treatment?
So a waveform, microcurrent or nanocurrent, is one of the characteristics. You won't just have microcurrent or nanocurrent not in a waveform. So the waveform is basically what's holding it all together, let's say. And there are a few things that have to be determined. So number one, is it alternating current? Is it running back and forth to where there's no positive and negative? Or is it directional where there's a ground? And I always call it your live probe or your live wire. It's directional. It's only going one way. Then what's the shape? Is it like this? Or is it a square like this? And then is it just negative? Is it just positive? There's a lot more, but I don't want to get too confusing. Now, when we're talking power, that's microcurrent. Is it microcurrent or is it nanocurrent? I'll do that this way so you can see, is it microcurrent or is it nanocurrent, which is not as strong as microcurrent. And then you have to pick in the micro range how much it is from 1 to 1,000, nano, same from 1 to 1,000. And then the last is frequency. That's how many times per second does it hit? Or boom, boom, boom.
Oh, okay. So on your app, which is fantastic, on your app, do each of the programs employ different waveforms and what nano or microcurrent, and some combination of each to impact the skin in a different way? Is that right?
Yes, they are all different. There's no overlay anywhere. Sometimes people think like, oh, maybe the quick fix that, that beginning part is the same as the total smoothing or formerly total clearing. It's not the same. They're all different. There's no overlap. So whatever you're doing, you're getting a completely different combination of waveforms. And in the quick fix, which is under 2 minutes, there are 3 different waveforms, completely different waveforms in that treatment. You don't have to worry about all of that because you get to just watch the video and go along, and you see the results, you feel the results, you can tell what's happening is supposed to be happening, and then it's over. But yes, there are all kinds of combinations. There are over 20 waveforms between all of the treatments on the ZIIP app.
I think that this is probably one of the coolest things about this little device is that everything that you just said, I'm sure there are going to be people out there that are like, okay, waveforms, microcurrent, nano, all that stuff. And you've just taken all of that out. You're telling people all of this exists, but actually you don't even have to worry about any of it because you've taken care of it, which is super, super cool. And I would definitely encourage anyone to check out the app. I mean, the app is phenomenal. And the fact that you've already thought through all of the stuff that you just explained so that the consumer doesn't actually have to worry about that. They worry about the result they're going for, and you've programmed it how they need it. Wonderful.
Yeah, I would say that's number 1 or 2 in terms of what we want to make sure comes across with ZIIP, that it is simple. It sounds really complex, and trust me, on the back end, it is complex.
Right.
There's so much going on in that little device. It's like a computer, and there's so much that we have the capability to give to you, but it is so simple to use. Right. Once you've, hooked synced your treatment up to your device, it blinks, it's on there, then you hit play on the video, you watch it, and then you do the treatment. And I'm with you on the video, step for step, the whole way from start to finish. So there's just no way you can get lost.
Right. No, I think that that's fantastic. And honestly, I think it's really neat that you are, and I mean, not to kind of put you on the spot there, but you're a celebrity esthetician. And I think it's pretty cool that anybody can sit with a celebrity esthetician and do an at-home facial. I mean, that is really, really cool. I'm very, very impressed with the app. And, there's lots and lots of apps out there for various devices. And yours is, to me, the most intuitive and the most thorough and the least likely to not use. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them, you use them once and then you're like, eh. Yours, I'll go back over and over and follow along because it's a really, really good app and they're fantastic programs. What is one piece of advice or the one piece of advice you would like to give people about microcurrent or about the skin in general? Do you have any words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom about microcurrent in general, I would say give it a try. Make sure you've looked into the device that you're going to get, that you've done your homework, and that once you do it, try doing it 3 times a week, give it a couple of weeks. 3 is ideal because you're almost through a full skin cycle. Then if you're not really starting to see things and people aren't noticing things and that's not happening, then you can say, oh, this didn't work for me, I'm returning it or whatever. But do your homework in the beginning, and then be ready to give it the full shot when you start.
I also think it's a good idea to take pictures. I always think that people, it's like sometimes it's hard to assess those subtle changes. And sometimes with microcurrent that the change is subtle, but other people may notice it, but you might not because you look at yourself every day. But there is that microcurrent glow for sure. And especially with ZIIP, because it really is affecting the skin. Of any microcurrent I've ever used, it's the most skin loving of them all. And I'm sure it's the nanocurrent, which is so cool.
Nanocurrent. And because it's, like I said, I don't use any currents. I don't use any waveforms that are past 500 microamps. In fact, I stay at 400 or below because I'm never going to get anywhere near cellular death. Yeah. So everything that you're using with ZIIP, it's working with the body, with the skin cells. And when you do that, you see a completely different kind of result versus when you're going in, to really like wreak havoc and force the skin to grow all over again. And that has its place, but you don't want to be doing that on a consistent level. That's like a once in a blue moon kind of thing. You really want to be working with what you've got, keeping it healthy, making it perform as optimally as possible.
I'm just curious because here you are and you're obviously an expert in all of this. How did that happen? What took you from becoming an esthetician to who you are now? And how did that happen?
I remember when I first went to go do desk sides for national and international press. It was about 5-6 years into my career. And I remember one of the magazine's beauty editors said, where have you been? Like, you're not on the radar. And I said, with all due respect, I've been working nonstop, 5 days a week, 50, 60 hours a week, honing my craft, doing what I do and learning as much as I could possibly learn. And I also was so fortunate that I started out at the top with Biologique Recherche and using their microcurrent device, which in the professional realm, there is nothing that can touch it. It's absolutely amazing. It's not just microcurrent, it's also radio frequency held together by a galvanic bond. It's incredibly complex. And so I started there and I remember thinking, oh my Lord, I've spent my nest egg and I can't operate this. It's so crazy, and then as I started to figure it out and learn more, and then I started reading books like The Body Electric and other studies and really kind of going down the wormhole, it just became my everything. And I couldn't train enough. And so then I got another device called the Perfector that people might remember out of the UK that was co-invented by the co-inventor of the pacemaker. And then I got other devices like the ST8 from Tesla Tech. So I was bringing in, which was kind of like an ozone device. I was bringing in so many different modalities. And then I was also going to all of the medical shows. I would be brought in to come and talk about how I used microcurrent lucratively in my practice. And they were talking to doctors about how they could bring this into their clinics as a modality. And so I met so many people in the medical realm and I learned so much. I really was, if I wasn't learning or traveling, and I traveled all over the world, the Middle East, I went to Dubai, I was in Paris, I really traveled the world learning from others, getting training from an amazing company like Biologique that's consistently training their estheticians, and just taking all that information in like a sponge to get to the point where I could launch something like ZIIP, with knowing I'm not giving people just something that I hope is going to work.
Honestly, just from having this device, it's evident. It's evident in the app. It's evident in the design of the device and all of the different programs and everything and I've said this so many times that it's thoughtful, and it's thoughtful over almost 2 decades of your experience. The people who have your little device get the benefit of all those years of you doing all of that, which is really neat. That's really neat that they can literally be one of your clients in your office, but they're at home, So
and now that's really, as it's grown and there are 10 programs, that's the idea. It's like, I'm trying to bring as much of what I do to you at home.
Yeah, that is so cool. Well, I am just so thrilled that you were here with me today. I really do appreciate it. And I hope we have a chance to chat again once we get some questions. And I'm sure that we will chat again, hopefully this summer. Hopefully I'll get to see you in New York.
Thank you so much, Penn. And thank you to your audience.
Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Melanie. There were more questions. I thought what I would do is I would put it out to you to ask some questions in the comments if you have them for her, and we will do a part too. We would love to answer anything that you have about microcurrent, about nanocurrent, about facials, about the future of ZIIP, about all of the innovations, etc. So definitely leave those in the comment section. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you in my next skincare video. Take care.